Hey guys, Matt with BleepinJeep. Welcome back to the BleepinJeep channel. I wanted to let you guys know firsthand that we have the new Bleepin Winchline 4.0 in stock and available now. As you remember the last video, we showed you that we were coming up with some new upgrades. We were coming up with the 4.0, and that is now in stock. We've actually gotten rid of all of our 3.0 inventory minus a few of the 1/4 inch lines. So in today's video, I wanted to update you on what those new features are for the Bleepin Winchline 4.0. I also wanted to tell you about an awesome sale, Black Friday sale that we're having, and to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. We've also got some Q&A questions that I'd like to discuss. Let's get started. It is really coming down out there. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it is pouring. So hopefully this mic is doing good work. All right, first up, our huge Black Friday sale up until December 1st. So that'll be Cyber Monday. So from now until Cyber Monday, we're gonna have a 10% off sale on the Bleepin Winchline. You don't have to put in a coupon code or anything. It's just gonna be right there on the website. All of those will be our new 4.0 option. We've completely sold out of the 3.0 version, so thank you so much for that. It was so popular though that we wanted to go ahead and give you guys an additional 10% off up until Cyber Monday for those 4.0s. But since it is so popular, you'll need to get your order in very quickly if you want to get those before Christmas, because I have a feeling that when I announce this video and this sale that we're gonna sell out again. So get your orders in very quickly at the point that it goes into back order, which we are gonna be back ordering these, but if you get to that point, you will see when you go to checkout that your item is back ordered. So if that's the case and you can't wait until after Christmas, then you'll have to wait or just not make the sale. Now you can back order, that's perfectly fine. We'll put you on the list, and as soon as we get new shipments in, we're gonna get those Bleepin Winch lines out to you. But if it does say back ordered, I can't guarantee before Christmas. If it doesn't say back ordered, you are gonna get your Bleepin Winch line before Christmas. That said, we also have a lot of cool other stuff other than the Bleepin Winch line. So we've got koozies, we've got shirts, we've got hats. So anything that you need for that significant other. If you are a male, which I know you probably are, and your wife does not watch these videos, and you really want a Bleepin Winch line or something else from the BleepinJeep store, make sure to share this video with her right now, because she's gonna have no idea what you want. Make it easy for her. Share this video with her right now. All right, real quick before I get too in depth, if you've not heard of the Bleepin Winch line and you're like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Let me go over real quick what the Bleepin Winch line is. You can fast forward if you've already heard this. So the Bleepin Winch line is a completely metal-free, hookless winch rope, fully synthetic, fastest, safest on the planet, super quick as well. So you've got a fully synthetic winch rope. At the end here, we've got a knot. If you want to hook to something really small, all you do is you take this piece. This is our Bleepin loop. You take that, you wrap it around whatever. Let's say you want to go around a shackle. You can do that right here. You want to go through a hole. You do that right there. You want to go through a bumper. You do that right there and back to itself, and you're winching. Now, if you have something bigger, the coolest part of the Bleepin Winch line are the openings further on down the line. We've got one here that could go around a small tree, a bumper, a tube, pretty much anything you want. And there's also 2 other openings down the line, and you can get up to, you guys called me out on this last time, an 8-inch circumference, 8-foot circumference tree. I said diameter last time, I meant circumference. But the last hole, the last opening on this winch line is 8 foot down the line. So that is a pretty darn big tree. So you can go around the tree, a roll cage, a bumper, anything, super fast, super quick. The idea is to save lives for one, but it's also so much safer, so much quicker, so much faster. You don't need any accessories. All your accessories are right here in the winch itself. You don't need to go digging around in the back of the Jeep for your accessory bag. All right, I can hear some of you saying, we want to see what's in the new 4.0 version. Here it is, guys. It's not rocket science. This thing was great to begin with, but we made a couple of changes. So the first change that we made, you'll see right here that we've sewn this together, because I was seeing people put soft shackles through this opening right here, You don't want to do that. That is just a part of the manufacturing process, but I saw that people were using it wrong. So what we did is we just closed that up so nobody could use that part of it wrong. Another feature that we added was to make these openings more obvious. Sometimes people that had never seen one of these before had no idea what was going on. Obviously, you need a little bit of training on how to work any kind of tool, and this is no different. But this is just going to make it a little more obvious on where those openings are and let you see them and find them a lot faster. And then the third upgrade that we did was we just move this, the sheath, further on down the line. It used to come all the way up to the knot here, but some people also, again, if they had never seen this before, didn't realize that that sheath needed to be pushed down before you could find these openings. So we just went ahead and did that from the start so that you guys, when your friends are helping you winch and they've never seen the bleeping winch line before, well, first of all, you guys should show them how to work it properly. But if they've never seen it, it's going to be a lot easier for them to figure out how to use it without any instruction. I think that's about it for our new features. Remember, these are now spliced right here in the USA. You can find this info tag right here on the end of your unit, and we make these in 1/4 inch, which is going to be 8,000 pounds MTS. That's minimum tensile strength. We make them in 3/8, which is 15,000 pounds, and we also make them now in 7/16, which is 18,000 pounds. And we offer them in 12-foot, 50-foot, 90-foot, and 120-foot versions. You may be asking, why would you want 12 feet? Well, the 12-foot version is so that you can splice that into your current synthetic winch line. Let's say you just bought a winch, you don't want to replace the whole line. You can buy our 12-foot version and splice that in. We also make the 50-foot version 1/4 inch for those side-by-sides and ATVs, the 3/8 for the Jeeps, and the 7/16 for the larger 12,000 pound winch lines. Number 3 on my list, one of the biggest questions I get is which option do I need? So just like I said, the 1/4 inch is what you're going to use for your ATVs, your side-by-sides. Your 3/8 inch is going to be up to a 10,000 pound winch. So that's typically Jeeps like a TJ or a JK or an XJ. Now a 7/16 line is up to the MTS is 18,000 pounds, but again, you have that 1.5x safety factor in there. So the 7/16 is going to be for those 12,000 pound winches that you might have on a bigger truck, like a very large JK or a heavy JK, a heavy JL, or a Dodge Ram truck or something big of that nature. Also, the Apex winches only come in a 12,000 pound, so a lot of people are buying those Apex 12,000 pound Harbor Freight winches and putting them on their Jeeps. Now, the Jeep doesn't necessarily need a 12,000 pound winch. That's way overkill, but we started making those 7/16 lines to meet that 1.5x safety factor for those 12,000 pound Harbor Freight winches. I also get a lot of people asking about the length of the line. And the length is 90 feet because the last 12 feet of this winch line is doubled up. So what does that mean? That actually means there's 104 feet of bleeping winch line that has to go into your winch spool. So even though it's 90 foot, there's 104 foot of winch line there. So that's the reason that we sell them in 90 foot. So if your winch comes stock with 100 foot of synthetic winch line, the bleeping winch line is 90 foot so that you can get the full amount in there. The only real reason that you would need the 120 foot 7/16 line that we make is if you have the 8274 winch. A lot of people have been asking, yeah, but I want more winch line. I want the 120 foot. Well, the problem is it's not going to fit onto your drum. Your drum is going to fill up with winch line and bind up either on the bottom of your winch plate or on the top of the winch package before you can fit all of that winch line into the drum. So keep that in mind. Now, if you need to, you can always cut the winch line down, but you're probably not going to fit 120 foot of winch line into a standard winch. All right, let's talk real quick on how to install this thing onto your winch line. Now, I'm not going to completely cover it because I have a video on this, and I'll leave a link down below on how to install this thing. But basically, To install the Bleepin winch line is just like you would install any other winch line. It's no different. So what you're going to do, if you have a Xeon winch, you're going to take it apart and put it back together just like you found it. If you have a Badlands winch, you're going to take it apart, put it back together just like you found it. Now we do have a loop on the end of the Bleepin winch line. Now that allows you to use it with the key for the Xeon winches. The Xeon winch actually pushes through the drum, and then you put a key in here and then it cinches back onto the drum. That's going to be perfect with the Bleepin winch line. If you have the type that has the screw on the side of the drum, same thing. You're going to take that little screw out, take your old winch line off because it's going to have a hole in it too, and then you're going to put this there, put that screw and washer in, and tighten it down. Now a lot of you might say, yeah, but it's too thick. All right, here's what you do. You take a hammer, you lay this on the table, you flatten that sucker out. That thing will get flatter than a quarter just with a little bit of hammering. Now your tiny little short screw is still going to be able to hold that winch line in place. Washer goes on this side. So it doesn't matter how your winch line is set up. This Bleepin winch line will work perfectly with it. If you needed a straight end for whatever reason, you can pull this back, pull this line out, and get that loop out of it. Some people, if you don't have, let's say your screw broke off. A lot of times this will happen. That little screw on the side of the drum breaks off and people don't know what to do. At that point, all you do is you take some Gorilla Tape, you put this in the corner and you tape it real good. The thing that holds your winch line at the end of the drum is not that little tiny screw, is not the tape, it's the friction of the first 10 wraps. That's why we have this red piece at the end. Once you start seeing that red piece come out of your winch line, you know that's when to stop because you're going to lose your friction and that thing's going to start slipping on the drum. That is your warning signal. All right, the next thing that I got in the last video, I had a lot of people asking about sponsorships, if I would sponsor a Bleepin winch line, and I would love to sponsor everybody. However, we're not a multi-million-dollar company like some of these other companies that can just hand them out like candy. So we had to come up with some sort of a rule, and that rule so far is going to be you have to have over 10,000 followers on social media. If you do, that doesn't mean you're going to get one, but you can then request that you want a sponsorship, tell me what you've got, tell me who your followers are, what you guys are doing. Just write me a really nice email. Now, if you don't have 10,000 followers, but you are into doing training, or you're a part of a fire department, or you want to use this in the military, just give me an email. The worst I can say is no, or I could give you a discount code sometimes. Just let me know. But I'm sorry, we cannot just sponsor and throw these out to everybody, so you're going to need to come up with a good excuse of why you need that sponsorship. All right, next up I've got a Q&A of the most common questions that I could find on our YouTube videos. But before we do that, please take a few seconds right now to share this video. Like I mentioned, we are not a multi-million-dollar company. We could use all the help we could get to spread the word on the Bleepin winch line. Like I said in the previous video, I got a patent on this thing, and it's been really great. But we could always use more help. Like I said, we're just working out of our home office. Hope works in the basement. She fulfills all your orders personally in the basement of our home. So it's not like we're working out of a giant multi-million-dollar corporation in some sort of office in New York. This is a small business, and we could really use your help. So please share this video with somebody who might find the Bleepin winch line interesting. That's all I ask. Now let's go over some of the most common questions that I could find on the Bleepin winch line. Okay, I scoured through all of the Bleepin winch line videos that I've done in the past and tried to come up with a list of questions that were most common. So first up I've got, can I use the Bleepin winch line with a snatch block or a snatch ring, aka a donut? And the answer is yes. So a lot of people get confused about a snatch block, thinking that this end has to go through the snatch block. That's not the case. A snatch block opens up like this, and you actually put the line in from the middle. So you can use this with a snatch block. However, a lot of the older style snatch blocks that were made to use with wire rope, I would not recommend, because they have big gaps that the winch rope might be able to get caught in. So you want to make sure that you're using a snatch block that is made for synthetic line. Now, having said that, what I prefer to use is a snatch ring or a snatch donut. Basically, all that is a, let's see if I got one around here. Oh, look at that. So this is a snatch ring right here. So this would go around a tree or something, and then you're going to change the direction of the pull using this snatch ring, like so. And then what that does is it just slides and kind of rotates instead of having to go through a pulley. It's just a ring. And what I like about that is it's so much lighter to carry, not as much weight, and it's also a lot smaller. Next question that was most popular was, how does the Bleepin winch line connect to the winch itself? And we already went over that, but what I will add is a link to a video, because I've done a video, so I'm going to leave a link on how to install your Bleepin winch line. All of these questions are going to be on the website under the Bleepin winch line itself, and I'll leave a link there and in the description of this video of how to install the Bleepin winch line. Can the Bleepin winch line be used as a winch line extension? Absolutely. Here's what I would do if I was going to use this as a winch line extension. Now, you could buy 2 Bleepin winch lines and splice them together using the link in the description below of how to splice 2 winch lines together. The other thing that you could do is just buy one, pull this sheath back, and you see this end, it's pretty small. It's almost too small to put a soft shackle through. I guess you could use it as is if you wanted to, but what I would do is pull this out. So you would pull this all out, and you would just re-loop it back in with a bigger loop on here, and that would be your winch line extension. I've also got a video on that. There's way too many videos that I need to share with you guys, but they're all going to be linked down in the description. All you need is a pen, and you can do this loop right here at home by yourself very easily, and I'll show you how to do that. I would just make that a little bit bigger. That way it's easier to use as a winch line extension. And once you do that, you can use this all day long, all you want, as a winch line extension. Next question, is this the same winch line that Matt uses? Absolutely, this is the winch line that Matt's Off-Road Recovery uses for all of their winching applications on the front of their rig. He seems to really enjoy it, and I love that fact that he does, because it's the best. It's the absolute best. All right, next question. I had a lot of people wanting to understand the 1.5x safety factor and what does that mean. All right, here's what you're going to do. You're going to take your vehicle. Let's say your vehicle weighs 5,000 pounds. You want your winch to be 1.5x that weight. So 1.5x of 5,000, if I can do my math right, should be 7,500 pounds. So most people, if they've got a Jeep, they're going to go with like an 8,000 pound winch. For whatever reason, most people go with a 10 or 12,000 pound winch instead, which is just fine. You want more than necessary. That's also true with the winch line versus the winch. So if you have a 10,000 pound winch, you want a 15,000 pound winch line. If you have a 12,000 pound winch, you want an 18,000 pound minimum brake strength, or MTS, minimum tensile strength winch line. And the reason being is that you want safety factor all along the way. So you don't want your winch line to snap, you don't want your winch to break, you want that safety factor. So 10,000 pound winch line times 1.5 is 15,000 pounds. 12,000 pound winch times 1.5 is 18,000 pounds. I hope I said all that right, because I'm not great at math. All right, how much 7/16 winch line will a 12,000 pound Badlands winch hold? Well, as I mentioned before, if it comes from the factory with 100 foot of winch line, you're going to want from the Bleepin winch line 90 foot. That's why we make it in 90 foot, because all that still has to fit into the spool, and the last 12 foot is doubled up. Will my 12... I get this one so many times, but let's go over it. Will my 12,000 pound Badlands winch hold 120 foot of Bleepin winch line? No, it will not. I guess if you really, really wanted to, you could build a little riser for the bottom so that you have space off of your winch plate, and then you'd have to build some sort of contraption over the top that extended it. The reason that you can't put 500 feet of winch line into your winch drum is because that stuff takes up space, and eventually all that space is taken up. So 90 foot, mostly, for the most part, is what you're going to want with the Bleepin winch line. 120 foot line is specifically meant for custom applications or the 8274 Warn old school winch. Very similar question, for a Warn 16.5 Ti winch, would I order the 7/16 120 foot version? No, let me read this to be cautious. Our current largest Bleepin winch line is 7/16 with the 18,000 pound MTS, which does not meet the 1.5x safety factor for the 16,000 pound winch. Basically all that means is I can't recommend that you use a Bleepin winch line product at this point, because we don't make a winch line capable of 16,500 pounds with that 1.5x safety factor that is typically required for your winching applications. Does that make sense? If we had a 1/2 inch Bleepin winch line, that would probably get you up there in the ballpark, but we haven't had enough interest in 16,000 pound winches. And a lot of times when I ask these guys what they're using these 16,000 pound winches on, they're using them on a 8,000 pound or a 7,000 or a 6,000 pound vehicle. And really that is overkill, way overkill. I'm not exactly sure why they're doing that. I think they just think that bigger is better. Now, if you have one of these like rovers, like these $1 million land home rover things, and they weigh, 12,000 pounds, I understand why you would want a 16,000 pound winch. But most of the time when I ask these guys, they're just driving a regular Jeep with a 16,000 pound winch on there. So keep that in mind, please. Can I convert my steel cabled winch line to a Bleepin winch line? Absolutely. So all you're going to do is take your steel cable off, attach the Bleepin winch line just like you would your steel cable. The only exception is you're going to want a Hall's fair lead instead of a roller fair lead. So when you make that switch, make sure to get the Hall's fair lead and put it on. Instead of those rollers on the outside, you're now just going to have this aluminum block that the synthetic line will rub against instead of hitting on those rollers. And you can't use the rollers because the synthetic line will get trapped in the edges of those rollers and actually pull through and mess up, kind of tear the winch line. Can you post a link to the directions? Absolutely, right down there in the comments section below. Can you connect the 3/8 12-foot extension to a 3/16 inch line? So absolutely you can. You can take one of our 12-foot extensions, or you can take a full-length extension. You can splice a 7/16 to a 3/8 or a 3/8 to something else that you might have. What you have to remember in that scenario, if you're taking a bigger line and splicing it to a smaller line, your new MTS, your new minimum tensile strength, is going to be that of the smaller line. So just keep that in mind. You can graduate from smaller to larger or larger to smaller, but your brake strength is going to be that of the smaller line. Where's the video on your website on how to splice winch line? It is in the description of this video. It's also in the description of the Bleepin Winchline itself on the store. So bleepinwinchline.com/store, under the Bleepin Winchline, you'll find all of the links on how to splice, how to install, and the directions and that sort of thing. Here's a good one. How about a 3/16 line for my 3,500 pound side-by-side winch? We offer the perfect solution. It's not 3/16, it's 1/4 inch. That 1/4 inch is good up to 8,000 pounds. So almost any side-by-side or ATV, that 1/4 inch line is going to work perfect for you. Here's a good question that I haven't addressed before. What's the warranty on the Bleepin winch line? That is a good question. I'm going to read it so I don't get this wrong. The Bleepin winch line is backed by a 1-year warranty against manufacturer defects, not misuse. If it fails because of how it was made, we'll repair it, replace it, or refund it. If it fails because you dragged it over rocks, overloaded it, or used it wrong, that's on you. So if you have an issue with your winch line, write me an email, send me some pictures, tell me what happened. So it's really going to depend on a case-by-case basis. If it's something that we did in the first year, we will fully replace it. If it's something that you did, I'm sorry, that is on you. I can't be replacing winch lines because I will go broke if it's something that you did. If it's something we did, we will totally take care of it. Do you ship to Australia, Canada, Norway, the UK, etc.? Absolutely we do. So whenever you put things in your cart, when you go to checkout, it's going to populate how much that's going to be for shipping. So depending on where you live, it's going to be quite expensive to ship something to Australia. There's nothing I can do to change that fact, but we absolutely do ship to most countries in the world. Here's a really random one that I get a lot and I don't understand why. I thought you sold these at Yankum Ropes. Did you used to sell them at Yankum, or maybe Yankum is who supplied the ropes? So we've never been associated with Yankum Ropes. I'm sure they have good products, but they don't sell or make anything similar to the Bleepin winch line. Like I said, we have a patent on this. The only place that you can get it is at BleepinJeep.com. We don't have them currently anywhere else for sale. I'm not sure why people confuse me with Yankum. I think it has something to do with Matt's Off-Road because he uses our product and he uses the Yankum Recovery Snatch rope. So maybe there's that, but I've also had people who confuse me with Alan at Yankum. Maybe we look similar. I don't think we look alike, but we look similar enough that people have confused us in the past. And it's really strange because people will come up to me and call me Alan, or they say that they really like my Land Rover or Land Cruiser, whatever he's got. But no, we are not associated. Let's read some testimonials now. If you have any more questions that I didn't answer, go ahead and leave those down in the comments below. And in the first couple days, I will absolutely answer every question. But I thought this was a really cool testimonial to the Bleepin winch line, probably one of the best I've got. If you have a testimonial, I would also like you to leave your testimonial down in the comment section below, because this is great. Listen to this. This is from Richard Lopez. We've owned our BleepinJeep winch line for almost 4 years now. 2 years ago, it was used to save a family. I had a line wrapped around the rim of the SUV hanging on the side of an icy hill. It happened all so fast, I don't even know what kind of SUV it was. My kids tied our Jeep to a tree while I went down and secured the SUV so they can all get out. We couldn't believe that the car came out unharmed, even the rim I attached to. The rim was the fastest and safest way. That is a great testimonial, and one of the key benefits, I always hoped that this would save a life. And if you had a hook, if you had some other product that might not be able to attach to the quickest and fastest and easiest way to attach to a car, sometimes they don't have any other way to attach, but the Bleepin winch line can attach to anything. In this case, he went through the wheel of the rim of the wheel and attached it back to itself and got those people out of harm's way. So thank you for that testimonial. I appreciate it. Let's read one more. Pro Crawler Adventures. I gotta say, I'm a believer. As a professional safety officer and former flight paramedic, I can honestly say this is absolutely the safest way to winch. Thank you, guys. Misadventure Labs. Bleepin' winch line is a more fitting for the world's best winch line. I can't wait to test out the new 4.0 version. We had to change the name, and if you remember the last video, we had to change the name, but he's saying that the Bleepin' winch line is much more fitting than the previous name. So thank you guys for that. Also, if you don't mind sharing this, please do so right now. And grab that sale, that 10% off right now while you can. Like I said, we're going to fulfill all the orders, no matter what it takes. But if you do see back ordered when you go to checkout, that means that it's going to be obviously back ordered. So if you order it when it's back ordered and then you send me an email 2 days later saying, hey, where's my order? I didn't get it in the mail. That's because it's back ordered. If you don't see back ordered, that means you will get it before Christmas. So we've got quite a few lines to go around. So please order right now. 10% off until Cyber Monday, which is December 1st. If you have any questions or testimonials, please leave those down below. And thanks so much, guys, for watching. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you guys on Saturday for our next video. Stay tuned.